Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in and a happy new year. I'm your host, Justin Phillips. This is the New Fashion Conservatives podcast. With me, as always, Shadow Governor Voss.
Robin Voss is strong as soul.
And we are kicking things off in the new year. Shadow Gov, you have a good Christmas? Good New Year?
Good Christmas, good New Year.
Excellent.
We just spent our entire show prep just talking about all the things that we're going to accomplish in the new year.
Mm-hmm.
And looking forward to it.
Yeah, we have some great stuff lined up for you over the next several weeks, months. We're excited for it. But first, let's, for those maybe tuning in for the first time, maybe, a new...
Welcome.
New Year's resolution is to listen to more podcasts, learn more about Wisconsin politics. You've come to the right place. We are two fellas who are semi-involved and have been involved in state party and politics and legislative business for a long time now. We've got probably 15 plus campaigns between us. I've got several state Senate campaigns, state assembly campaigns, county executive campaigns. I've worked for members of Congress as well as state legislators and had about 10 years of experience in the state capitol. So we know a little bit about what we're talking about. And
I mean, I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I've got opinions on everything.
Yeah. And we hope to, give you a bit of education and a few laughs around the way. But, we were talking about this before our show started, is that we know what the algorithm tells us to talk about. And, we're not just going to do things for the sake of the algorithm. Like, we should be talking about Donald Trump or, the current schism and infighting that's going on between people like Ben Shapiro and Megyn Kelly, who Megan's kind of thoroughly debased herself for the anti-Israel crowd. And we should be talking about Tucker Carlson's and Candace Owens' latest Charlie Kirk conspiracy. But, that's not stuff you're going to see here. We could talk about Turning Point USA's America Fest, which brought together some of the boldest and brightest minds of the conservative movement. I think you saw that Tom Tiffany delivered an absolutely incredible speech at America Fest.
Yep.
And yet it hosted some of the most appalling, despicable grifters and anti-Semites that claim the conservative side. We should also, algorithm says we should be reading the comments section on dozens of posts between an ongoing dispute between Jessica at Wisconsin Right Now and Turning Point USA's Wisconsin's chapter's Mr. Based, Bradley Penfield. But we're not here to comment on the commenters. We're not going to be part of a firing squad aimed at conservatives and other Republican candidates. One of my biggest gripes with the Republican voters is that our side will find any insignificant, minute reason to not vote for someone, whereas the Democrats always vote blue no matter who. So we need to focus on getting more voters to the polls for conservative candidates. And, we're not desperate to pick sides or play kingmaker. That's why we've had both Tom Tiffany and Josh Schoeman on the pod. We've had David Varnum on, who's a great candidate for lieutenant governor, and we've invited Will Martin on as well, who's also running. We'd love to have Michael Alfonso on, as well as Jesse Eben, Kevin Hermaning, and Paul Waskren. We'd love to talk to all of them and give you the long-form interview so you can make a decision on that race. We're here to give you our insight on Wisconsin conservative politics and news and bring you long-form interviews with candidates that aren't covered at that depth anywhere else, and hopefully provide you some entertainment, give you a few laughs along the way.
Yeah, and I certainly have opinions on a lot of those things as well, but I think, and we've talked about this numerous times, and it's a good, it's kind of a resolution. It's not even a resolution. It's just a continuing of, we want to drive the ball down the field. We want to win. Okay. Now, there are going to be certain conversations that we have to have inside the conservative movement, and we can have those when it's appropriate. But I don't really want to always get down in the weeds and get down in the muckraking and the mudslinging. It's sometimes, and I don't want to say never, because sometimes it is needed. There are certain times when you need to make sure there's a fine line between circular firing squad and just punishment against people that need it, or for the sake of the conservative movement. I tend to err on the side of caution on that, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be staunch in our principles, especially when there are people that are Republicans that are running as Republicans, and maybe they differ on that. So I just think it's very critical that, we with our very, very passionate and very faithful audience that we just continue that message that we're going to continue. We want to win. Okay. And you win by winning. Okay. These little side quests are important sometimes, but it's just more of a distraction. And, we seemed very focused at the beginning of the Trump admin when he got, inaugurated in January, and it was just a blitz for like 4 or 5 months. It was just one thing after another. Democrats couldn't get a footing. Democrats couldn't pick an issue that they wanted to win on because they weren't winning on anything. They feel like they really didn't have any ground. Okay. And now it seems like things have kind of settled in a little bit, and Democrats have kind of found their footing a little bit on some messaging. And now I know this is more national, not necessarily Wisconsin, but same thing here. Although we are just a humble network here, I still think we should be absolutely true and just make sure that we're driving the ball down the field. And of course, taking a side quest when necessary, but not always taking the bait, not always being a reactionary to every little thing. Maybe there are issues that are happening right now that we could comment on, but it just are not worth it. Maybe it becomes, maybe those issues get larger and then we can discuss it then. But right now, I also just don't want to start the new year on a negative note as well.
No, we want to cut through the noise with the signal. Again, we're not here to comment on the commenters. We're not here to read the comment section of
never
various
say
posts.
Never,
but our focus is to cut through and give you the conservative take on a lot of news and politics happening in Wisconsin, give you a deeper insight into what's going on in the legislature and conservative campaigns. And right now we want to catch you up on everything that you may have missed during the holiday break. So probably the biggest story from break comes from the part owner of Husby's Bar in the Door County area who burned an employee's Charlie Kirk Freedom hoodie. So this comes from Fox 11 Online. Sister Bay Village trustee has resigned and is apparently selling his stake in a popular restaurant as he's accused of burning his employee's Charlie Kirk sweatshirt earlier this month. Husby's Food and Spirits employee Robert Meredith said he left his Charlie Kirk sweatshirt on a hook at work. Somebody had told me, "Hey, where's your hoodie at?" And I was like, "I don't know, probably at my house," Meredith said. He said, "No, it's probably not." Meredith said he wasn't provided many details, but was told that Husby's co-owner, Chad Kodanko, burned his Kirk sweatshirt. So, look, I think Chad has learned the hard way.
This is just an insane story.
That, you never want to be the main character on the internet. And he found himself becoming the main character on the internet for being an a-hole. And burning
it lightly.
Yeah, and burning an employee's Charlie Kirk sweatshirt. Now what kind of message does that send to the community and the voters who, again, elected him as trustee? But as we found out now, not only is he selling his stake in the restaurant, he resigned as a village trustee, and Robert Meredith, the owner of said sweatshirt, is also put in his 2 weeks at Husby's Bar and Restaurant. So Husby's had to put out multiple statements trying to clarify this one and apologize. And they got it wrong the first time because they let Chad post on his own. And he said to all Husby's patrons, "First and foremost, I want to apologize for my inappropriate behavior and for all of the damage it has caused to the employees, the community, our patrons, and my business partners. My goal has never been to divide people, and my actions did that. Due to threats of violence towards our employees and myself, effective immediately, I'm stepping away from the business and all of its affairs." Now, I think we've seen this due to threats and violence towards claim far too often as a way for people to hide behind their actions and make a non-apology, which is what Chad did here.
Well, first of all, just thinking about the sheer lunacy of the situation that, a liberal sees a sweatshirt, gets so triggered, has to grab it, steal it, burn it, and does it in front of the other employees. Like, if I see someone wearing a Che Guevara shirt, like, I'm going to be like, that guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to continue on with my day like, that guy's an idiot. Like, just straight up. No problem. Maybe I see someone wearing maybe the Charlie Kirk shirt mocking his death. yeah, I'm going to be a little bit more angry.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going to rip the shirt off his back and destroy it because I have impulse control. Now, if you were to like threaten myself, like that's a whole nother level. Like,
yeah. But this guy wasn't doing any of that.
0 to 100.
And he wasn't even wearing it as an employee at the bar. He had it he wore it to work, put it in his locker, left it in his locker.
I guess I didn't realize that.
And then the owner grabs it, burns it in front of other employees. And
see, in my head, I just kind of assumed like, oh, he's a bartender. There's a hook behind the bar.
Mm-hmm.
He just hangs it up there. You know, he's making drinks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then this guy comes and picks it up, you know, at some point or whatever. The fact that it was basically put away,
mm-hmm.
it's, you know, private. He wasn't wearing it for patrons or anything.
Yeah.
Just, you know, and, you know, at least good on him for taking the right moves to remove himself from the business. Cause I'm sure the business was like, yo, you might kill our business overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And B, to resign as a village trustee. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be completely out of bounds on this. Isn't he a transplant?
Probably, yeah.
Well, I thought I had read something that he was like a transplant. And so that he's not necessarily even from the area, which like normally I would say without 100% confirmation, that's probably not true, but it is Door County. And there's a lot of transplants. Yep. There's a lot of people that go up to Door County. I mean, granted, there's a lot of snowbirds that, you know, coming back and forth from Wisconsin to begin with. But this is a prime example of what not to do. And you kind of realize, you know, I put this on Twitter after this, like, I know there's the kind of, oh, liberals have mental illness. And it's like, that's kind of a joke.
But it's not.
I mean, statistically, there are studies done that show that liberals are more unhappy, have more mental illness than the general population or conservatives. Mm-hmm. But this is not even a joke. Like the amount of, I mean, maybe it was, you know, I want to try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Steel man, the argument. Maybe he was having a bad day and this just triggered it, like, or whatever. But there's really no excuse.
None.
I could understand maybe seeing the t-shirt and maybe even getting angry at the employee, but the fact that he stole it, burned it, told all of his other employees, basically showed it to them. It's just a level of lunacy that, you know, check yourself into a facility, maybe take a detox, maybe work on your New Year's resolutions, maybe to be a better person to start with.
Yeah. So 2 days after the initial post by Chad, Husby's actually had to come out and put out a second one to our patrons and the Door County community. We want to sincerely apologize for the harm caused by the recent actions of one of our partners. That behavior does not reflect the values and standards we hold to ourselves as a business or as individuals. Although this incident involved one partner, we take responsibility. We regret the impact of the situation has had on the employee affected, our staff, patrons, broader Door County community. Effective immediately, the partner is no longer has any decision-making in the business and will be removed as an owner from Husby's. We met with the employee involved to ensure he's supported, and you know they go on and on to highlight the things they had to do again because they let Chad make the first non-apology apology, and then got review bombed and all these other things.
Apology.
Yep. And you know, thankfully they stepped in like this, but still, just what a dick move by again someone who's supposed to represent his community in Sister Bay.
Yeah, just kind of a crazy scenario that you know I'm not sure we've heard one of these stories in a long time, but you know, just looking, you look up Husby's and just on the Google Maps, not even Yelp, and the first rating, first of all, they have a 3.5 rating after 264 reviews. Mm-hmm. Always a great time whether you're inside enjoying darts or outside enjoying live music, blah 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 blah. Next one. Go here to find out about Chad Kodanko and why he didn't resign. It's not a story they will tell you. Disgusting food, bigoted owner who has anger issues, not returning. Very surprising for Wisconsin, usually cordial to tourists. So that was just like not even me doing any investigative work. And those are both 1 stars. So they definitely probably got review bombed and needed to correct course a little bit, you know, and good luck to the guy involved. He didn't want to comment. He didn't want this to be bigger, I don't think, than it already was. And like you mentioned, he's put in his 2 weeks, and probably for the best.
Yeah. So the other big story that came out right before the holidays is a lot of homeowners were shocked to find that their property taxes had went up. And, I think they kind of did the meme of the guy in the banana suit trying to say, I'm trying to figure out who did this. Like, congratulations, here's the consequences of your own actions catching up to you. So property tax bills, specifically the TMJ4 talks about Wauwatosa owners facing bills thousands of dollars higher than they expected. Now, I'm surprised they're not expecting higher bills, because when you vote for enormous tax increases for public school referendum, you're going to get enormous tax increases.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing about, it's not funny. I guess it's funny if you don't live in Tosa, but think about this for a second. The Tosa property taxes exploded. Okay. And this was the article that you mentioned. Obviously it doubled for her, essentially.
Yeah, went up $2,000.
Well, sorry, I shouldn't say it doubled, but she thought it was only going to be a $1,000 increase. Yep. But first of all, if you have to factor in that your property taxes are going to go up $1,000, I don't know, like that's a little crazy to begin with. And I mean, I'm just saying, but this person thought it was only going to go up $1,000 and it went up $2,000, and I believe her taxes were already at like $6,000 or $7,000. So she's paying $9,000 on, and if you look at the Wauwatosa lots are not big.
They're old homes. They've all been gutted and redone a couple times.
Yes, but we're talking like less than a quarter of an acre. I mean, like 0.15.
These are postage stamps.
Yes. Yeah. And you're paying $9,000. Like if you're paying $10,000 in property taxes, but you got acres of land, like, okay, we get it. But Tosa, now here's the crazy thing about Tosa. First of all, for context, Milwaukee passed the MPS referendum, $252 million. Okay. Now think about the city of Milwaukee compared to Tosa. Okay. Tosa passed like a $120 million referendum. MPS is like what, 50,000, 60,000 kids. Okay. The Wauwatosa school district is not even like one of the top 5 school districts as far as size. And
they're also getting rid of like their STEM and like high achieving programs because of DEI. And,
oh my gosh. That, and I can't even remember if that story came out when we were even doing the podcast, but for even more context, they did a $120 million referendum and also closed their leading STEM school because it was too white and not enough minorities were in the school, which is insane to begin with. So you factor all that in. MPS has probably 5 times, 6, 7 times, 8 times. I don't even know the real number, but it is multiple times larger or smaller than MPS. Yet they passed a referendum that is half the size. So you don't have to be a mathematician to say that there are less people for $120 million to go around, meaning everyone's property taxes are getting jacked up. And Wauwatosa, of course, is a microcosm of this. There is obviously a ton of people across the state that are dealing with a lot of property tax problems, which, of course, everyone should be blaming none other than their school board or Tony Evers.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I did love this was, right before, the holidays, of course, the Democrats saying, no, this is on Republicans because you aren't funding schools well enough. And then Republicans quickly checking the notes and saying, who signed the 400-year veto?
Exactly. That raised property taxes $325 a year or whatever it was.
Yep. The 400-year veto raises the levy limit $325 per year for 400 years. And of course, now the Democrats want to get in some nuanced argument and said, well, Tony didn't technically raise taxes for 400 years. No, he raised the authority to raise the levy limits, which would in turn raise your property taxes. But that's a semantic argument. But in the crazy thing, of course, about the raising the levy limits, for those that don't know, that allows those school boards to raise the property taxes in their school district without a referendum. Okay. Now, obviously, you could elect your school board and you could hold them accountable for potentially abusing that. But other than that, you have no recourse in a referendum. Mm-hmm. So, mind you, when you read your tax bill, your property tax bill, just, look at the individual line items for your municipality, school board, and know where to draw your ire.
Exactly. Well, that was two of the big stories that came out. Now, one of the things we covered right before the holiday season was the Hannah Dugan guilty verdict. We went live stream for probably the first time, and that was quite a bit of fun to talk about that as it was happening. So Hannah Dugan, not quite former judge, found guilty of a felony in her role in trying to help an illegal immigrant escape ICE custody, is now facing impeachment charges. So the legislature has come out and said, the majority office, like I believe it was Tyler August and Robin Voss, said that if she does not resign, they will move to quickly impeach her.
Well, and yeah, this seems like pretty clear cut and dry. Mm-hmm. However, as we are now learning, because of the split decision for the verdict, meaning they found her innocent of the not the obstruction, the concealing the criminal, but they found her guilty of the felony obstruction. If you want more context on that, I highly recommend you guys listen. It was only like a 25-minute episode. It'll take you, put it on 1.5 speed. You'll be done before you know it. So guilty of the felony, innocent of the misdemeanor. Hannah Dugan is now, her legal team is trying to petition the judge, and I'm not a lawyer, so correct me if I'm wrong. They're trying to petition the judge to overturn the jury decision, because how can you find her guilty of the more severe offense, but innocent of the lesser offense? So they're trying that route. And then if that doesn't go, I'm assuming they'll appeal, of course. But the technicality, of course, right now, and I can guarantee you this is going to come up in an impeachment hearing if we don't have a decision by then. She's been convicted, but the conviction has not been read into the record by the judge. So it's kind of in limbo right now.
Yeah.
Now, if that's not, and I don't know when that's supposed to be decided. I don't know when Judge Lynn Edelman is supposed to decide that. But if he doesn't decide that by the time of an impeachment hearing or an impeachment vote, the Democrats are going to say, along the lines of like, well, she's not technically convicted yet. She could still be due process. We need to wait until the entire process has seen its way through, and then we can do that. No. She was still convicted by a jury of her peers, guilty of a felony. And I would love for Democrats to make that argument, because, again, if you're explaining, you're losing generally in politics. And if the Democrats have to explain this very nuanced middle ground in this legal process that I didn't even know, I mean, not an expert, but I didn't even realize was there, or you could just be like, she's guilty of a felony, we should impeach her. One argument is much easier, and that's the Republican one. So,
a little bit of me would be surprised if the Democrats really try to drag it out, because if you get close enough to Election Day, this is going to be definitely a campaign issue for the Republican side to argue on this. So reading from one of the articles said in a December 30th interview, Voss said he hopes that when the assembly returns in January for the session days, Dugan will have already stepped away from her position as dictated by the Wisconsin Constitution after a felony conviction. If not, he says lawmakers will be forced to do something. Under state law, impeachment may be used by state lawmakers to remove state officers for corrupt conduct in office or for committing a crime. If the assembly votes to impeach Dugan, the Senate will hold a trial on whether to remove her. If the Senate votes in favor of her impeachment, she would be removed. But I think it's a 2/3 majority. So I think, this will be...
So they can impeach her with a simple majority vote in the assembly, but a conviction would be 2/3.
Yes.
Meaning you would need some Democrats to vote.
Yeah. Or, again, now there's a political calculus that comes into that, as, there's Democrats taking in moderate, districts or swing districts have to then face the reality of either, sticking for their party or sticking for the Constitution, and
or their district if they just want to get reelected.
Exactly.
Because Yeah, the assembly doesn't matter. What you'll have a partisan vote probably in the assembly. The Democrats will get all angry. The gallery will be full of Social Security Americans hurling down probably epithets at their
the 12 people that protested her Dugan's
kind of depressing, honestly. I was expecting a lot more. Like this was a national case. I didn't really get, kudos to local media who covered this, I think, pretty well. But there was, of course, the few national stories. Cash put out a tweet about it. Bondi put out a tweet about it. But other than that, been pretty quiet on that front. Now, granted, it was right before the holidays, and everyone's fat and sassy from having holiday ham, and they're still recovering from New Year's Day. But yeah, kind of quiet on that regard. So we'll have to see. The assembly, I'm sure it's going to be a spectacle. The Democrats will pull out all the stops. They'll say, threat to democracy, we're prosecuting innocent judges, yada, yada, yada. And then in the Senate, it might actually be real, because I think that there's going to be probably one or two senators that have to make a tough decision.
You have a not insignificant portion of the Democrat electorate that don't think Hannah Dugan did anything wrong.
In fact, they think that she would probably be morally obligated to do it again.
Exactly. So again, you have to.
She's a patriot to them.
To balance that against your district, especially if it's a swing
we live
district,
in two different Americas where half, if you were to poll, like half people think that, oh, well, she clearly, like, she's a judge in a robe. She's not a bailiff escorting people out. That's not your job. Your job is to sit in the chair and quote unquote judge. Doesn't mean, oh, here, direct them this way.
Yeah. Doesn't mean obstruct justice.
Yeah. Quite literally, like it's in the word judge. You're judging people. Okay. This is why we have separation of branches. Okay. And this is why, judicial branch. I won't go into that screen, but this is very similar why we have separation of our branches. But yeah, half of America would probably say, yeah, she has a moral obligation, because ICE are nothing more than Gestapo fascist thugs, which now, and if you listen back to our previous Hannah Dugan emergency podcast, you would know this, but her deputy clerk popped his head out of the hallway to call ICE fascist. So that's who's working for the court right now in Milwaukee County. But
so we'll see what comes in the legislature in the next couple of weeks. I'm not exactly sure which date they'll have available for session in January, but you got to think it's part of it. And again, there's going to be some political charged angle to this impeachment.
And one last thing, and I almost forgot about this. Wisconsin I is down. Now I don't know. I can't remember if we talked about this.
We did talk about it.
Well, just a little bit.
Yeah.
The public funding is not there. The private funding is not there. They've gone dark. How are people? Is this going to be one of the only times that there's an impeachment? Because apparently, I can't remember when the speaker had said the last time a judge has been impeached was like in the 1800s or something. And we're not going to be able to watch it.
That'll be interesting. I know there are some pretty strict rules about having technology up on in the gallery in the assembly, and I don't know how many members of the press get to hang out on the floor of the legislative, the assembly floor. But maybe the shadow gov can talk to the shadow gov, and we can live stream the impeachment.
I doubt that. I do think this could cut two ways, where instead of having just your media staying in the Wheeler room and watching a whiz-eye feed, they might actually have to walk down to the actual chambers and watch it for themselves.
I feel bad for them already having to move their feet.
Or you would have to have news channels actually come in on their hard-earned time and actually televise it themselves.
And what are the Assembly and Senate Democrats going to do if they can't grandstand for Wisconsin I to cut into clips to send to their constituents?
But they can grandstand, but on actual TV. Like, this is the thing. This could cut both ways. Like, okay, Whiz-Eye isn't there, so you can't televise it. Okay, well, it forces, sorry, Whiz-Eye, actual media to come in. You get a bigger microphone. Like, the thing with Whiz-Eye is that it gets clipped into all kinds of clips, good or bad. But with the TV, that's a bigger, you have actual people watching. You might actually have more people watching.
That TMJ is going to preempt the bold and the beautiful for impeachment coverage of Hannah Dugan.
Again, I am going on a limb and saying,
those folks that are watching their soaps are going to be really pissed about that.
But it makes for good TV, though. I feel like, I mean, I was watching the trial pretty well. I was reading the updates because, of course, no feeds. They can actually live stream this stuff. Okay, you'd make for good TV. So would the Democrats grandstand? I mean, you have to. I don't know. I just think that it would almost work in our favor if the TV cameras were there live streaming. I don't know, Tim Carpenter trying to assault Chris Kapica or something like he tried to do in committee, so I don't know. We'll have to see, but it's something to consider since Wizai is, well, not dead and gone, but certainly dead in the short term.
Yeah. So another thing that came up that really, really upset me recently, and something to say that, well, the DNR just sucks. And we've talked about that a little bit with Josh Schoeman and Tom Tiffany in our episodes. And those are episodes 22 and 29, respectively. So if you want to go back and listen to our full interviews with the GOP gubernatorial candidates. But the big government at its worst right now with the DNR.
So bad.
The DNR is currently seeking to ban the use of wild-caught frogs in jumping contests. Now, why does this matter to folks like me? Well, one of the things I love is Dousman Derby Days. And Dousman Derby Days has held a frog jump and been a part of the community staple for over 70 years. And now Tony Evers and the loser anti-fun bureaucrats at Wisconsin DNR aim to destroy this tradition. And killing summertime traditions in small-town Wisconsins to pander to far-left eco-activists is just something that's perfect for Tony to do, but, should upset anyone with half a brain because they're trying to argue things that these rules will prohibit the use of wild-caught frogs to prevent the spread of diseases from non-native store-bought frogs to local amphibians. Well, let me tell you, there are no store-bought frogs in the Dousman Derby Days jumping contest. Those are all caught.
All natural.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, so when you look on X, there's only one comment on this story, and I think it's a pretty good one. Mama Rosebud 142 said, apparently the DNR has nothing better to do with their time.
Yeah. Right.
How will you enforce this rule exactly? Send in law enforcement to check for frog registration and tags, which is actually really funny. It's like, what? I understand it's technically wildlife. I get it. Trust me. But there are so many other bigger issues. And this is, we got a journal article about this. Okay. No, it's not a very big story, I would say, but it's a story nonetheless. There are I mean, we don't even have to go into all of them because we'd be here all day, of course. And I would love to have some more people that have even more ire for the DNR than myself. But this is it's just hilarious to even think like a DNR warden coming in. That frog, he hasn't been tagged. We don't know. Shut it down.
Show me your papers, frog.
Yeah, shut it down. Shut it down right now. It's like they are saying no DNR warden, and no respectable DNR warden that isn't a lesbian with short hair would do this.
Well, I can't wait to go to Dousman Derby Days. It's one of my favorite parades, and then go watch the frog jumping contest and see if the DNR actually follows through with this. So the one no fun, dumb bureaucrat named Rory Pulowski was a conservation biologist with the DNR. It's part of the team working to update the laws regarding amphibians and reptiles, in particular regarding frogs. So Rory says, well, let's not assume gender. The problem comes in when store-bought frogs and the native frogs are near each other, or the store-bought frogs are released in the wild after the competition. Those non-native species can introduce potentially fatal diseases to the ecosystem, killing off other frogs or even snakes and salamanders. My God, the snakes and salamanders. Won't anybody think of the snakes and salamanders? Rory says it's just really a hot spot for disease to spread. New law would prevent the use of native species in contests, but technically still allow contests to continue with store-bought frogs. So, of course, the only people that are really going to benefit this are the lobbyists at Petco.
Well, yeah,
writing this rule.
They'll make a killing, obviously, but I have no other comment than just the sheer lunacy
Yeah.
behind this
What?
story. And poor, what's her name? Laura Schulte, who wrote this, who's like, are we serious? What are we actually doing here?
I bet you that got more clicks than just about anything else, because again, as we've come to find over the years of working in campaign politics and the state legislature, the DNR sucks for a bunch of reasons. One of which now includes
frog jumping,
being anti-fun, and stopping kids from getting their frogs to jump in the Dousman Derby days.
Also, I'm really trying to figure out if Rory is a man or a woman.
It's a gal.
It is.
I read down far enough to where the she said.
But
let's not assume gender. I mean, she has
Rory spelled R-O-R-I.
She has her pronouns in her email signature.
Okay. Yep. All right. We got it. Yep.
So in other news coming out during the holiday break, something that, wasn't really on our radar, but Eric Hovde cleared up for us. He announced in a 3-minute video on Facebook that he's not going to run for governor this cycle. And my biggest disappointment with that announcement is he has shaved his mustache.
I think he looks good.
I think he looks better with a mustache.
Well, see, I like both.
Okay.
I think he can pull off both, but I kind of like the change up. Like trust me, I wanted him to keep the mustache. I voted during the campaign for him to keep the mustache. But the cutting the mustache, he just looks like 15 years younger.
Yeah.
And he looks almost too slick to be a he look as a politician, he would look too slick. So I think maybe the mustache grounded him a little bit. But actually, I enjoy both ways. So if he wants to go back and forth, mustache, no mustache, good for him.
And this also leaves a hole in the governor's race for candidates that do cold plunges.
Yeah.
I fondly remember his videos of him jumping into, was it Lake Minota?
Yeah, and he got a bunch of flack from the left for that video of him in the lake and him saying how cool he was, swimming in the lake. I can't remember their outrage or something.
Yeah,
they freaked out over that video or something. I can't remember.
How dare he, do things
swim
to, be healthy.
Yeah,
but we still could have Tom Tiffany or Josh Schoeman step up. I know we just passed the polar. Yeah, just passed the polar plunges, but no one says you have to do it during a polar plunge. Why not cut a hole in the ice on one of those lakes and jump right in?
I up north has got to be really cold right now.
There's like 8-10 inches of ice on the lakes around here. I went out the other day, drilling some holes and looking in to see what I could find. And yeah, there's a lot.
Did you get anything?
No, I genuinely was walking with my kids. And
you just wanted to see the ice was.
They wanted to see what it was like to drill.
You didn't put a line down or anything?
No, I might go out the next couple of days though. It's that time of year. So
a little shanty?
No, I don't have a shanty. I got a hand crank too. I don't want to spend money on one of the expensive ones. So I got
expensive augers.
I gotta do it myself. Extra workout.
That's how you start.
It's a great way to start your New Year's resolution. So another one I wanted to cover. Cap Times has come out against Jill Underly again. So the backstory here is Jill Underly went on a program on Channel 3000.
Why do we have Channel 3000? Why?
That's one of those websites that they got it so long ago that they just had to stick with it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's a Madison area news station. They went on For the Records program, and she discussed her department handling of the alleged sexual misconduct investigations and defended what the organization was doing. Now, that shouldn't really be too much of a surprise, but what is the big surprise from here is that Martin Trinan, the editor of the Cap Times, tweeted, "I really can't let this stand. Dr. Jill Underly and WISC TV News 3. The superintendent's continued claims of DPI transparency and our reporting's inaccuracies are problematic." And he went into this long thread where he walks through the claims that Jill Underly said the information was readily available to the public on those teacher misconducts, but it took Danielle Duclos months of work to get public records and make sure she understood them. He walks through everything. he said the Department of Public Instruction's own staff didn't have sufficient tracking to be able to easily produce a full accounting of all these 200 sexual misconduct cases. He also Underly takes issue with the Cap Times calling these cases shielded from the public, but our agency's primary actions in response to the reporting have involved unshielding information from the public.
It seems pretty clear cut and dry.
Yeah, like
if they had to unshield things from the public, maybe that means it wasn't public to begin with.
In her interview with Channel 3000, after repeatedly saying that DPI is transparent about educator misconduct, she then says that even her own staff is challenged to comb through the quote-unquote paper records to produce more information for the DPI website. That's why it's still not updated.
Oh, my gosh.
As for her continued demand for a correction, Dr. Underly has not identified a single inaccurate fact in the reporting. I get that she doesn't like the scrutiny and doesn't agree with the headline, but we continue to stand by its accuracy. Sidebar, he says, in his final X post, we also asked Dr. Underly multiple times for an opportunity to speak with her about our findings before we publish them, not just as a canned quote, a real conversation to help us understand her view. And we've asked multiple times since. She's declined every time. So clearly, Underly will only go on shows
that are willing to let her just say her piece.
Yes. And I think that really speaks to the lack of quality in the reporters at WISC TV, that they don't have enough brains or enough fortitude to
bitter hack.
Yeah, to go and actually push back on her. But it really, really says something that the Cap Times, the paper of record for the Capitol.
The Cap Times is not some, and we've discussed this before, but the Cap Times is not some Wisconsin right now. They're pretty left. They endorsed Jill for DPI superintendent, and kudos to them for willing to do this digging on this report.
I would be hard pressed to find if they've ever endorsed a statewide Republican candidate.
No, there's no way. There's no way. Not a fat chance. But first of all, to recap, that story came out before Thanksgiving. Was that
initially? Yeah.
It's been a couple months now. Why is Jill trying to do damage control
still
now? I mean, this story came out the day before New Year's Eve. What are you doing? Like, take your licks and go home, repair your image, maybe, I don't know, fix some stuff. This clearly has got her upset. She also wants to have a career after DPI. She would like to probably, maybe run for something. She feels like she has to. This is like when a politician knows they're wrong or they know that they can't explain their way out of this, just take the L. Okay. Just shut up about it. Okay. She won't shut up about it. She's like trying to defend everything she possibly can. And she just can't. She can't let it go. She thinks that she's in the right. She's that delusional. Also, I just love the fact that he said that, we wanted to sit down with her and she declined every time. Jill Underly is not a good speaker. She's not.
Right.
She can read a teleprompter, but then again, a lot of people can read teleprompters. She is not good on her feet. She's not witty. She's not funny. She's not likable. Even though she took Ozempic and lost probably 70, 80 pounds.
She does look, she got the Ozempic.
Yeah, she got the Ozempic special for the re-election run. That's the only thing that she has going for her. She's not a good politician.
Man, I thought I was the only one that noticed that. But yeah, you can see it in the neck.
Oh, yeah. No, it's clear. It's very clear. Unless she just had a very aggressive workout plan, but I'm going to say Ozempic's just easier these days.
And, the other thing I want to point out is the Capital Times on December 11th wrote a piece on 7 ways Wisconsin could address educator misconduct like other states. And now 19 days after that initial post, that initial article in the Cap Times, she's coming out to try and defend the actions at WISC TV.
Yeah.
Like, you're not exactly like, you're not even going on like Matt Smith's program, you're not doing a statewide TV thing. And I don't really want to rip Madison news too much, but it's not that big.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, when you think about it, Milwaukee's still the largest, and the metro especially is just so much larger than Madison. Because quite literally, when you go outside Madison, it's just farms. It's a pretty quick transition. But if if Jill Underly was any good at a politician, if Jill Underly actually had the facts on her side, she would do an interview. Like, I don't know about you, but and maybe this is, it's bad instincts as a politician to want to fight for the truth and fight for what's right. She's not doing the actual interviews of the people that are criticizing her. Okay. Mm-hmm. She thinks there'll probably be a hostile interview. Therefore she won't do it. But the fact that she's not willing to speak to some of those inaccuracies exactly, like if we're talking details, she just wants to, I mean, that's the problem with Channel 3000 here, is that they basically gave her, a microphone and said, you don't like this because why? Well, they're inaccurate. Okay, well, what's inaccurate about them? Well, they're inaccurate. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the editor of the Cap Times is basically saying, yeah, the DPI had to unshield stuff from the public, and it's actually still not on their website to this day. Mm-hmm. So an abject mess, and boy, political stock report, Jill Underly might be our 2025 loser of the year. Yep. Honestly. Mm-hmm. I did not do that. Everyone does a loser, winner of 2025.
Yeah, we didn't do that, but
didn't really do that, but off the whim, Jill Underly might be the loser. Big time loser of 2025.
So I want to highlight a story that came out on December 29th from Broken by Wisconsin Right Now about an elderly 100% Vietnam era combat disabled veteran, Fred Smith, who is now being charged with a felony and could spend time in the Dane County jail after accidentally paying for lottery tickets with a Trump novelty bill. So Fred went in, pulled out a fake bill, bought his lotto tickets, and somehow the cashier at Quick Trip didn't notice that it had Donald Trump's picture on the bill. And it turns out that initially, I think Quick Trip reported that they called the police and tried to report this, but they've now announced that they are requesting that the criminal charges not be pursued. However, it happened in Dane County, so I don't know if the DA is actually going to drop these charges.
Now, and I also said this on Twitter, follow me on X at Robin Bostan. It would be anywhere else and probably would get dropped right away. And like bills, like, are we prosecuting this like really aggressively? It's just, I don't know. I mean, I guess this is Milwaukee, so Madison I don't think has the homicide problem or the crime problem that Milwaukee does, so maybe they have time for this. But part of me has to think that it's a Trump $100 bill. Mm-hmm. Does that have anything to play with it? I mean, I understand it's quite literally just a forgery bill. Mm-hmm. It's play money. Yeah. You buy it on Amazon. It feels like paper. I mean, I don't know how, unless it's a really good one, I don't know why anyone would.
But if you get too close, it's actually, counterfeiting money. Like, yeah, it has to, and you can't get that paper that feels like money, paper money.
Yeah, I mean, it's like card stock.
Yeah,
like that aside, the main issue here is the Dane County DA, who is a far left whack job, along with the far left sheriff, Calvin Barnett, which they work hand in hand, I'm sure. They don't honor ICE detainers. They don't do all this stuff. Mm-hmm.
They won't catch actual criminals, but they'll get a 75-year-old Vietnam combat veteran.
But he broke the law. And he used a Trump bill, so we're gonna nail him. So I'm actually gonna take the white pill here. I'm gonna say they're gonna drop the charges.
Okay.
I think they're going to. If they don't, though, and this continues on, it will be some of the most brazen, ridiculous prosecutorial discretion. I don't know if I said that right, but of how the DAs, they won't prosecute or they won't honor ICE detainers for criminal illegal aliens, but he'll prosecute a dementia person that likes Trump, basically.
Yeah, no, let's be clear. Like, Fred's 75, 100% Vietnam combat veteran, disabled, was shot 5 times in Vietnam, has PTSD. His memories slipped to the degree that he puts Post-it notes around his house to make sure he remembers things. He's got 3 knee replacements, 1 hip replacement. He was shot in the hand, so he can't really bend his hand. Like, this guy is not a master criminal. He's a 75-year-old man who slipped that bill into his wallet, probably forgot about it, probably didn't realize what he was doing. And, again, Quick Trip has apologized for even suggesting that they, pursue charges, which I don't know who made that decision, but now, spokesman for Quick Trip said it was never our intention for this to happen in the first place.
Well, the Democrats who believe in restorative justice will, of course, give bail to the hardened criminals that, well, you know what, we'll give you another chance. Meanwhile, it's been the 7th or 8th chance in a row. They continue to break it. Meanwhile, we have basically the exact opposite. You want to talk about discretion? This would be the time to use it. And I'm not saying, we need to give like mulligans or whatever, but guys, just call a spade, right? Even if he was, this doesn't result in being dragged through the entire process for a novelty $100 bill. But I guess, I really hope. And of course, Quick Trip said, we're sorry. We've told the DA's office our wishes and that they want the charges dropped. And they even said, it's an awful thing. We truly feel bad for what happened to Mr. Smith. We called the family to apologize. We are truly sorry for what happened. So they are very apologetic. They've righted the wrong, at least on their end, but we'll see if the Dane County DA will do the same. I'm not so sure that they will.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that one. So next couple of stories I'll kind of, I think, tie together just a little bit. But the first one, we're just going to go under, why is it always the people you most suspect? 4 men with ties to On the Border Gentlemen's Club in Franklin were arrested following a multi-year human trafficking investigation by the FBI and local law enforcement, according to the post from Wisconsin's TMJ4. Again, I think this just starts off with me saying I'm, not surprised.
But are you saying a strip club was part of human trafficking?
I mean,
I've never seen that before.
Exactly. So 4 guys were arrested for this. One of them was the general manager of On the Border.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So basically the whole thing was just a human trafficking racket.
It would seem as though that was the case.
Probably making good money off it too.
Well, who's still making good money is On the Border, because
it's still open.
They're still open, which,
as a municipality, can't Franklin pull their license?
You got to wonder if that's going to be the next step or something. It's that review for liquor license comes up pretty regularly, but
can't they take action now? I feel like, as a board, you could probably take, these are extenuating circumstances, and they could take immediate action right now to revoke those licenses and pretty much get them shut down, since apparently this has been a problem that law enforcement has been working on for quote unquote years. Yeah.
So On the Border actually put out a lengthy statement to Franklin city officials and community.
Now, this is not
the other day.
This is the first and probably only time we'll read a statement from a strip club, but it is a statement.
So they do walk through the founding of the strip club. And it's it was founded by brothers Danny and Jerry Hay in 1996. It's a small business, but Jerry retired, and Danny passed away in July of 24. On the Border has been a gold sponsor of Franklin's 4th of July festival for more than 25 years, with donations over that time totaling approximately $75,000 to $100,000. In addition, we proudly donate to the annual Lioness Club for charitable work and various annual donations of many Franklin High School athletic activities and fundraisers.
This cookie drive for the Franklin High School football team is sponsored by On the Border. So do they have to wear like a little On the Border patch on their jerseys? Or something?
That's why I started laughing. I was like thinking of like the ways that the sponsorship's actually on there. So, they have fully denounced the charges and are offering full support to authorities. They formally terminated the employees, had an employee mandatory meeting where we verbally stated that in-person employees have absolutely no illegal actions will be tolerated. Posted a second statement on Facebook saying that we have done and will do to confirm our commitment to maintaining professional, lawful, and respectful environment for our employees and patrons. And we began collaborating with specialized industrial and organizational psychology business who has over 20 years of experience in the entertainment profession with 7 years in the industry, makes uniquely qualified to facilitate an improved training and recruitment program in accordance with the professional standards we collectively aspire to achieve and maintain.
Wow, that was a lot of words that I don't know if I even really understood. That was basically a lot of just I'm surprised anybody over there can write that well, I guess.
Well, they seem like they need to, they're taking the proper steps.
I'm assuming that they're going to have a max donation to the Franklin 4th of July. They are going to go even above and beyond. They're going to repair their image.
They'll probably even let police, fire, and EMS officers get in free.
Oh, yeah. Have a first responders night. Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Maybe they'll even, they'll turn the lights on and have everyone come in during the day and say, look, we're okay. Oh, good Lord.
So Shadow Gov, I don't know if you saw this one. Former Assemblyman and current Mayor of Green Bay, Eric Genrich, is forcing anti-white struggle sessions on the employees of the mayor of the city. And
Green Bay.
Yes. And he recently said, I'm just really proud to stand with our Somali community during this difficult time. So he has decided to stake out a position in favor of Somali fraud.
Okay. Now, I am very confused by this. Like, the Somali fraud, it seems to be all Minnesota, Minneapolis. Apparently, there's some stuff going down in Ohio. Apparently, there's a big Somali community down in Ohio as well. Does Green Bay have like a Somali population that I'm just not aware of or something?
It's a good question.
Why is he in, like, forgive me for not maybe knowing all the context, but is he just inserting himself here on purpose for any? I can't tell the reason, like, unless there's something that was going on in Green Bay and he's just like, I'm going to talk about the current thing right now and I'm going to make it about myself and how good I am. And maybe it's just quite as simple as, here's something that I'm going to virtue signal on and I had the opportunity, therefore I did it. I know there's some Somalis down up in Barron County, which is like the exact opposite part of the state from him. Yeah. But I was a little confused why he inserted, like, trust me, he's having a anti-white struggle session, the white, fragility moment. He's having one of those. All bad, that Marxist gobbledygook, that nonsense. But I'm just confused why he inserted himself in this conversation in the first place. So
not only did he insert himself, but he picked, he
a losing issue.
Yeah.
And it is kind of nice. I have had my timeline on X has been very cleansed of liberals for the most part. Not that, I mean, I don't know. There are some that are starting to come out of the woodwork and defend the Somalis. But guys, this is a big losing issue. Okay. Like, for example, I mean, some people were talking about the Somali issue and that, like, they don't really see this as fraud.
No, this is like,
it's a cultural thing that, like, they are tribal, and their tribal instincts are to take what you can get and give nothing back, which is basically, I took that right out of the Pirates of the Caribbean, which Somalians are many pirates.
So I think Mayor Genrich is saying this about the Cinnabon incident.
Oh,
but still, like,
would
you really want to make it about Somalis?
Yeah, that's right.
They're getting through, again, because you have this whole Minnesota fraud thing.
I forgot about the Cinnabon thing, to be honest.
But that seems so, I mean, again, this came out just a few days ago. Like, there's a pretty big gap. I mean, we were talking about that on our episode before the holidays. And then he decided to insert himself into this one while all these charges of fraud were going on.
It is a little odd that the Cinnabon thing also had to deal with.
It's a weird coincidence.
I mean, are there more Somalis here in the United States than I know? There's
Probably
really not that many. It's a very small community. I mean, I think Minneapolis has the most concentrated amount of them, but very odd. But yes,
but I do want to say you are right. Like, there is there are a lot of countries that corruption is just part of the deal. That if you are in government,
it's not even
you
corruption.
are corrupt, and it's kickbacks, it's pay for play, it's all these sort of things that, well, it's going to the guys who are on my side, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Like that's
it's justified.
Mhm.
So it's like fraud isn't even in the vocabulary.
Mhm.
It isn't fraud. It's, well, this opportunity was here, so I took it, type of thing.
Mhm.
Well, and of course, as we're kind of seeing, is that the Somali community, they have their clans, they're very tight knit, and they keep their mouth shut, and they don't talk, and they don't talk to outsiders,
Mhm.
and especially about this. And now we're seeing this, of course. Now we're getting the press conferences. Have you seen those press conferences?
Mhm.
Some of the clips where they'll say fraud is bad, and the lady like covers her mouth like she said a bad word or something.
Mhm. Or you saw that that there was a break-in where the only thing that was stolen, quote unquote, was
the employee records and then
the checks. Yeah. The stuff that could be proven to be fraudulent.
And apparently it looked like the cuts by a sawzall blade were done from the inside, because the drywall, when you cut, like the extra drywall was going out, so you can tell which way you were cutting from. So it looks like they might have staged their own crime against themselves to sympathize with themselves.
It reminds, there was this meme that kind of floated around, this video meme on like Instagram and TikTok, and it was popular. There was a Kenyan politician who was like, corruption isn't bad. Corruption's only bad if I'm not involved. But if I'm part of the corruption, I'll defend it. Like you're right. That is the vibe of a lot of countries. And that's not just African. Let me be clear. Like there's
most Muslim countries.
Yeah. So it's out there like that. So
most countries where they consider marrying your cousin okay. Inbreeding is okay. Mainly why the IQ is basically functionally retarded. So, but that's neither here nor there. The world is just full of future Americans, apparently. Come one, come all. Never mind. That's for another time. So
this was another story I want to talk about that I thought would get more news. Was the Madison School Board vice president and the CEO of Urban Triage were arrested by Madison police. You see this? Yeah. So late Friday on charges of disorderly conduct and resisting arrest, according to the Cap Times. Madison police reported responding to an incident involving Maya Pearson, who's the Madison School Board vice president, and Brandy Grayson, the CEO of Urban Triage, just before 11 p.m. on December 19th. Employees at an East Doty Street business called the police to report that a car had driven over cones in the loading zone. After responding, police officers reported the driver, identified as Grayson, had an odor of intoxicants on her breath. Grayson refused a field sobriety test and was taken to the hospital for a blood draw. She was arrested on 3 counts of disorderly conduct and OWI. Pearson, whose police was the passenger of the car, was arrested on charges of disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, according to police. Now, I thought this would be a bigger deal because Maya Pearson, she is a member of the city's Police Civilian Oversight Board as well, which supervises the Office of Independent Police Monitor. Madison Mayor Rhodes Conway appointed Pearson to serve on the board as well. And also, this is not Brandy Grayson's first run-in with the law. So earlier this year, she posted signature bond for a incident in which she tried to kick in the door of an ex-boyfriend.
Yikes.
Yeah. So
tough breakup.
So this is interesting for a couple of reasons. Again, one of them, it's Madison School Board member. They're both minority members. You got to think that, I would love to see the body cam. If Madison has the body cam on that one.
No, Madison police doesn't have body cams.
Oh.
It's one of the few municipalities that don't, because Madison is so liberal that they're like, we don't want the body cameras because then it'll show people being stupid and will actually confirm all of the suspicions that people actually had, and will actually be counterproductive to actual body cams, or will be counterproductive to the progressive view of criminals and actually undermine their whole restorative justice comment. Body cameras, the best thing that has happened to policing ever. And it was all thanks to George Floyd and all the nonsense in 2020. But Madison is so liberal that they're like, actually, we don't want them. So, which it's funny because some progressives, like the true bleeding hearts, really want them to have body cams, but then the ones that are in power are like, no, we probably shouldn't, because then people are actually like, we have the classic the classic body cam footage of like we see someone lunging at a cop with like a giant steak knife, and then people are wondering, oh, that wasn't a justified shooting. Let's look at the tape. Well, she did have a butcher knife, so it makes sense. So
the other one, do you know what Urban Triage does? Do you know what?
No idea.
So Urban Triage is allegedly this organization. Now I looked this up in the IRS reports, and we'll link to all this in the show notes. From the most recent ones I found, they were one of those anti-police organizations.
Oh, lovely.
And, rent assistance groups that jumped in funding under the Biden administration by like 3x.
One of those faceless, nameless NGOs, pretty much.
Yeah, it's one of those NGOs that they went from raising like $30,000 a year and having like $1 million budget in grants to then to $6 million to I think it's now like 17, almost $18 million in grants that they allegedly give out to homeless. And do you want to guess the salary for Brandy Grayson as the CEO of Urban Triage?
Multiple million.
Not quite. No, not quite that much.
Okay.
But no, at the last IRS filed report, she was making $124,000.
Okay, not bad work.
Yeah.
Not bad work at all.
To allegedly hand out grants. I mean, where do you find $15 million worth of people to give rent assistance to, or,
Oh, they'll find it.
Or to,
sure.
Again, do anti-police training activities.
There's so many groups. There's so many subsidiary groups. There's money for everybody.
It was pointed out in Minnesota in the Somali community, like maybe someone needs to start looking into these organizations in Wisconsin and across the country that, again, these NGOs that, somehow found themselves $17 million in grant money. And again, you look at the IRS reports year to year to year, it was just huge spikes.
See, this is when I turn to a libertarian, and it's like the government is just there to basically give endless money to NGOs. Meanwhile, actual Americans have to make tough decisions on whether to buy or sell, or buy certain things or not, or wait on a purchase, or to pay for their heating, electricity, maybe a car payment. Meanwhile, we have these guys just being absolute parasites, leeching off government dollars that we work hard for. But abolish the government.
So again,
turn into the most libertarian, which is bad. Libertarians are cringe, but.
So we want to talk about the next one is we're just going to tie this. What point is it just theft? So I want to talk about Kallan Haywood Sr. So he has been the head of a long-stalled city-financed effort to redevelop a prominent Milwaukee Central City site that has been going on for years. So Kallan Haywood Sr.'s investment group received a $3.85 million city loan 6 years ago to help convert a historic former Sears store on North Ave into a boutique icon hotel and conference center. That development failed to proceed. Haywood and his partners in 2023 instead began pursuing plans for a mix of uses at the 7-acre site, including a brewery, art gallery, offices, and market rate apartments. Now a third plan has emerged, even as Haywood's group, H.G. Sears LLC, has several months overdue on repaying the city loan. So they got not only the city loan, but they've applied for housing tax credits with WIDA to help finance the 46 apartments at the site now being called the Sears Market Square. So in 2019, the Milwaukee Common Council voted 12-3 to approve the hotel loan. A report from then City Comptroller Martin Madison said it carried significant risks. Then Mayor Tom Barrett called the hotel an important catalytic project with the potential to extend downtown's economic boom into a neighborhood with huge potential for growth. Madson's report wasn't mentioned during the council's zoning, neighborhoods, and development committee meeting. He would use the loan to pay the $1.69 million to acquire the property, as well as demolition and removal of asbestos for $1.6 million. $380,000 on architectural fees, $330,000 on property taxes, and $290,000 on utilities and insurance. Haywood was unable to obtain private financing sources to proceed with the $36.3 million hotel development, which would have allowed him to tap into a second city loan of $5 million. So at what point did this guy just steal $3.85 million from the city?
Also, I love the very last part of that. Was not able to obtain private funding for this, which would then have unlocked more city dollars. So apparently, can he not get a bank loan? Can't get private money, but guess who's still there?
The city.
Good old Milwaukee, city of Milwaukee government, just greasing the skids a little bit for this. It just, you don't want to allege something. You don't want to get sued or whatever. But like, there's a reason that this article came out was because someone was asking questions. Hey, whatever happened to that hotel that was supposed to be developed? Well, actually, the hotel is no longer a hotel. Now it's this plan.
We've gone through three different plans.
Now we're on plan C. It's still not there. Couldn't get private money. Couldn't get bank money. But we could get city money. You want to talk about people getting tired of politics? It's things like this that people get really upset about, where it feels like, people work hard. People, they have their small businesses. They put their money into their small business. They work hard. They make sacrifices. And then what do we have? We have people trying to be a big shot developer, and all the money they can get is the public funds from the city, and they can't even scrounge up enough of their own money to make this development actually happen. It's a little fishy. It smells. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So who knows? Well,
again, another one we'll have to keep an eye on, but Kallan Haywood once again in the news for being unable to develop a property.
And so this is his dad, though.
Yes, Kallan Haywood Sr. Kallan Haywood Jr. is a member of the Wisconsin State Assembly.
Now, you have to imagine that they have conversations. I don't know if Kallan Haywood Jr. has any pull in the city of Milwaukee, since he's just a lowly state representative.
Well, you got to wonder,
not an alderman, but everyone in Milwaukee kind of knows each other, I'm sure.
He went to WIDA, which is Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Association,
with an Evers administration.
You got to wonder if WEDC has been tapped on the shoulder for maybe figuring out a way to squeeze some money over to him.
Yeah,
again, we're speculating.
We're speculating, but this is, how things sometimes work, probably.
As people who've had experiences, and I worked at WEDC, I know that these type of projects get floated around occasionally. Now, most of them don't make it out of the internal auditing procedures that WEDC has, but occasionally something slips through the cracks. So something that I've made as a New Year's resolution is to once again start talking about some candy issues. We give you these vegetables and all these big, meaty conversations that we have about a lot of
existential.
I want to talk about now is a Mugwanago man who's facing charges for an alleged failed attempt to steal an ATM Big Bend. So he tried this back in June, and his downfall was an ex who knew him a little too well. According to the criminal complaint, the suspect's soon-to-be ex-girlfriend reviewed surveillance video with sound and immediately suspected it was him, not by his face, not by his walk or his clothes, but by his breathing. So funny enough, this started because Big Bend police turned a social media post on June 16th with a sense of humor. Facebook posted an offer $1,000 reward for information leading to the arrest titled "Attention Ex-Girlfriends." Post explained that the suspect broke in the patio door to gain entry and attempted to steal an ATM. However, in a not-so-smooth getaway, the ATM slid out the back of the light silver Ford Escape, ironically, landing in the parking lot. Recognize this sweatshirt? Bought it for an ex? ? Know this clever gentleman? We're calling on anyone, especially former flames, who might recognize the suspect. So then, yes, a few days later, his ex-girlfriend went to the police and said she recognized him because she heard him breathing and knew it was him.
Just wild. And first of all, didn't even get away with the money. Like
in an escape, by the way.
Yeah, if you're going to commit a crime, like at least get away with it. And then, well, at least I got away with it at the like. This is just, criminals being stupid, dumb idiots. So I guess he got what he deserved, and I guess good on the ex-girlfriend. What better revenge than being the one that breaks up with him, but then also turn him into the police, and you get money for it?
Yeah.
You get $1,000 out of it. That's not a bad deal at all. You get vengeance in more than one way.
Yep. So another candy article I want to talk about. So one of my favorite things is my favorite type of sports events to attend are minor league games. They're always more fun. They're family friendly. They're less intense. And the cherry on top of those games is the alternate identities of those teams. So I love when the Beloit Sky Carp, which is a great name in its own right, become the Wisconsin Supper Clubbers, and the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers become the Utter Tuggers or Frozen Pizzas. But against the Waterloo Blackhawks on December 12th, the Madison Capitals dubbed their night the Birds Aren't Real Night. Hockey fans attended the game who got to watch the Capitals decide to rebrand as the Surveillance Swans for one night only, and the club commissioned some unreal sweaters for the occasion featuring one of the birds with a security camera for an eye. So those were really cool looking. The jerseys were all auctioned off, the game worn jerseys, and they went for somewhere between $250 and $400. So
that's great.
Yeah, good for the Madison Capitals. I would love to see them bring that back. I wish I would have known about it sooner. I would have tried to get myself a sweater, as the hockey fans call them. And, I love the Birds Aren't Real.
Oh, it's a great meme.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memes like that is the this man ate my son, and it's just Ted Cruz. or the Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer. Those memes that usually get turned into a bumper sticker. Always good. Always good fun.
I love telling people that boobies aren't real, that great tits and lesser tits aren't real, as well as Canadian geese and other birds. You're just giving me a look right now that I know too many names of birds.
Yep. Yep.
But they're all not real.
They're all not real. They're in a surveillance state. During the Super Bowl, they just changed the batteries on the birds for the next year. So while everyone's
watching it, yeah,
they changed the batteries on the birds. That is a fact, and I will not be told otherwise.
So final article that I want to bring up is this guy from Dane County. Madison man bagged a once-in-a-lifetime massive buck. Steve Lumens was out private property on December 5th when he made a kill of a 19-point non-typical buck, which could rank in the top 10 in Dane County. Don't know where it ranks in the state, but the rack itself weighed 6 pounds. So got to check out the pictures of this thing. That is an enormous rack. After talking about boobies and such, we're going to talk about racks. Just a really cool experience. I'm not the biggest hunter, but that's because I was never someone who had access to private land, but I always wanted to get more into hunting, and I'm jealous of this guy who gets a 19-point buck
at 22. Yeah, so he probably hasn't been hunting like that long, but yeah, I mean, when you look at this guy, it's pretty. I mean, the deer, he looks like an oldie, so you kind of, you have respect for the animal, and you're like, it's kind of sad that they're gone, but what a fantastic. Hopefully, he lives on as the trophy. 19 point.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Good for the hunters that did bag some deer.
And with that, folks, want to wish you a great start to the new year. Great Monday. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to bringing you a lot of exciting, fun content in the new year.